Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Everyday Recovery. My name is Jim Lang. I'm the Senior Vice President and Director of Addiction Recovery Ministries here at America's Keswick. And each week we just want to bring you a devotion that just gives you a glimpse into what we talk about here at the Colony Mercy, what we talk about at Barbara's Place. And so this week I actually wanted to highlight, we have a Tuesday night group at the Colony Chapel. Right now we're going through the book Gentle and Lowly, and so it's actually one of my favorite books. We meet at 7 o'clock each Tuesday night, and we're going through each of the chapters and just allowing God to speak to us through His Word, through that book. And I love that book because one of the main stumbling blocks for men or women coming into our program is that God is just unapproachable. Throughout life, we've kind of learned through our family of origin or through just authority figures in our life that we better behave to earn love and to earn respect and to earn tenderness from those either our parents or, again, teachers, authority figures. And so a lot of the people come into our programs and they just really think to get access to God, they have to clean themselves up and they need to put on a performance to be able to engage with Him. And that's just such a lie. That's such a deception that we believe. And I know personally for me, one of the major works God did in my life was just showing me how approachable He is. And that's what we talked about this week, is just seeing God and seeing what Jesus has done makes Him approachable. And we see this in the book of Hebrews. And I just love these verses in Hebrews chapter 4 going into chapter 5. And it says, "Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast to our confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in every way as we are, yet without sin." And so Jesus, because He came here, He was embodied as a man. He became a man. He understands our weaknesses. He can sympathize with our weaknesses. He was betrayed. He was mocked. He knows what it's like to be lonely. He knows what it's like to be rejected. And so we don't have a high priest. We don't have someone who represents us to God who doesn't know what we've been through. And this makes Jesus approachable. He knows our weaknesses. He knows our frame. He knows that we are dust, and so we can trust Him. He's not someone who is high and far off and doesn't know what we're dealing with. He intimately knows the struggles. He intimately knows the pain. He intimately knows the suffering that we experience. And so in those moments of suffering, in those moments of pain, in those moments of addiction where we just feel up to our eyebrows in sin, we can turn to someone who sympathizes with our weakness. It says in verse 16 here, "Therefore, let us approach the throne of grace with boldness." And so because we have this high priest who has experienced the things that we have experienced, who's able to sympathize with our weakness, because we have that high priest, we can approach Him with boldness. We don't have to approach Him with trepidation. We don't have to approach Him and bring all of our good things that we've done. We can approach Him with boldness. There's no feeling of fear or anxiety that we need to have when approaching the King and the priest who sympathizes with our weakness. And it says we can approach the throne of grace with boldness so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in time of need. And so we don't approach the throne of grace and receive judgment. We don't approach the throne of grace and receive harsh rebuke. We approach the throne of grace and we receive mercy and we find grace to help us in our time of need. And so I would ask you, are you in a time of need? Are you in a time of feeling lonely or feeling rejected or feeling depressed? Well, there's good news. We have a high priest who understands, who sympathizes with our weakness. And because of that, we can approach boldly to His throne of grace and we can receive mercy. We can receive grace from Him in our time of need. Going on to chapter 5, verse 1, it says, "For every high priest taken from among men is appointed in matters pertaining to God for the people, to offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins." In verse 2, this is what I want to highlight. It says, "He is able to deal gently with those who are ignorant and are going astray, since he also is clothed with weakness." And so he deals with us when we approach the throne of grace. He deals with us gently. As I said, he doesn't deal with us harshly. And I love the clarifier here. He says, the writer of Hebrews says, he deals gently with those who are ignorant and are going astray. And so this is an all-encompassing sin spectrum. And so it's not for those who are just light sinners. It's for everyone, those who are ignorant and who have gone astray. So this is sins that we willfully do, willfully going astray, and sins that we're not even aware of that we're doing, the ignorant. And so this is an all-encompassing thing. No matter what you're struggling with, no matter what your sin is, we can approach the throne of grace and he deals with us gently. This is the Savior that we have. And so I want to encourage you, as I encourage the men in the colony, if you are just up to your eyebrows in sin, if sin is just encompassing your life, you don't need to clean yourself up to come to Jesus. You don't need to do good things to get back in God's good graces. We have a high priest, we have a Savior who's able to sympathize with our weaknesses, so we can approach boldly to the throne of grace and find mercy in our time of need. And the promise here is that he will deal gently with us. I always think back to the prodigal son as the son's returning home, and he has this whole spiel in his head of how he's going to offer to his father to become his servant, and his father doesn't stand there and harshly tell him all the things he did wrong. He runs to him and he welcomes him home as a son, and that's what Jesus wants to do for you. And just understand that Jesus sympathizes with your weakness because he lived it, he knows it intimately. And you can approach his throne and receive the mercy for help in your time of need. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, that it was an encouragement to your heart and life. If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction, we'd love to speak with you. You can call 732-350-1187. I'm extension 1041. I'd love to speak with you, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day.